riffs are too repetitive, the lyrics make no sense. All the songs are B-sides and the cover art's a mess. There's so much here to tear apart. Listen to it for a week, now that week has passed. It's Why I Hate This Album podcast with Tim and Garrett.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Why I Hate This Album, the show where we pick a song or album, listen to it for an entire week straight, and then come back here to tell you, the listener, whether or not we hate it and why. I am, of course, one of your hosts, Garrett Harvey. With me, as always, special relativity to my general relativity co-host extraordinaire, Timothy Richardson. Special, how you doing this week?
Not great, buddy.
God damn it, this always costs me money, blood, plasma, or some combination of all three. What happened?
Well, I mean, as you know, we opened up a pop-up store in Times Square selling those novelty yarmulkes. You know, they look like a bald spot, or they have a ponytail growing out, or looks like a pretty serious zombie bite.
Shocking what people will buy for $12.
You know, it's shocking what people will get really mad at. Because a lot of people, most people, Garrett, seem to not see the humor in this. Long story short, we are no longer allowed in Times Square.
Oh, come on, the whole square.
I would argue that all the people that beat up all the interns that were used as human shields should be the ones kicked out of Times Square, but whatever.
Where are you going to do your M&M store shopping?
Oh, I've got a guy for that.
Oh my.
Well, an M&M man.
An M&M man. Mm-hmm. Makes sense. None of this is strange. Which one do you think set people off? Because this is one of the rare business ventures that I was pretty on board with.
I don't know.
I didn't feel like you were mocking any particular faith. If anything, it was bringing some levity to a time-honored practice. I guess I'm just off base here. I guess we owe yet another apology to the city of New York.
I don't know. Yeah, a lot of fathers thought it was pretty funny to buy their kids the bald spot ones.
Yeah, what's wrong with that?
I don't know.
You know what? You know what it might have been?
They were not made out of kosher materials.
Oh, never mind. It was that. Never mind my thing. It was your thing. Got it. Okay, well, we'll move on from that immediately. Any other news to share before we get down to the business at hand?
Let's see. News.
Why did I ask you this? I live a vivid and interesting life as well. But
if anyone has any Spooktober or Febuspook recommendations, now's the time to send them in.
There will be no Febuspook this year. It went on entirely too long last year. It crossed the year boundary. I don't want to ring in the new year with spooktacular songs.
I mean, we kind of always do, though, right? With those, goddamn clowns, Garrett.
We're never going to run out of those. Do you think one year, Tim, we could just watch a movie instead?
We can watch one of the Insane Clown Posse starring movies, sure.
Yeah, that's what I mean. I'm not without the Christmas spirit. I just want to change it up.
Excellent.
Anyway, Tim, that's mere months away. Let's get back to this week. And this week, Tim, what album have you been listening to on repeat?
This week, I have been listening to Rush's 2112. We may have announced last week we were also doing the song Tom Sawyer. You might have cut that. I don't know. Either way, we're not doing that. There will be no bonus track. I didn't
cut it.
Okay, well, fair enough. Here's your announcement that we didn't do it. Garrett was super adamant that we do not do it, so I'm assuming just based on the source material that those Canadian boys used too many N-bombs in that song.
No, that's not what that's about. Jesus Christ.
Anyway, 2112 was suggested many times. Leah asked us about this way back in 2019 when we were still answering emails with some regularity. Then in 2022 when we were not. And most recently by Liquid Snake, who wrote us a truly deranged email last month, possibly read on a PP-sode. Anyway, many times in between, people would like to hear what we think about 2112.
Wow. And Tim, after an entire week with 2112, I am very curious. Edge of my seat. Look at that. See it?
Do you hate
this? Okay. I don't know why you saw me inhale to speak. I don't know what's going on with you today. Anyway, Tim, after an entire week with this album, do you hate it?
No. Garrett,
interesting.
I think I hate this band. This album
That's understandable.
Is as weird as it is stupid, but I had a lot of fun with this week. So I don't yet. I'm going to try to. I'm going to try and get us both there with about 2 hours of history that doesn't involve this band until the very end. We'll get there.
That's too long.
What about
we've had a lot of conversations about shortening the history.
Yeah. Well, I went the other way with it this week, and I think
I hate
you'll
it when you
appreciate
do.
it. What about you? Do you hate this?
Absolutely absolutely not.
Do you love it?
Yes.
Excellent. It is just stupid enough to be for Garrett.
Yeah, it's pretty dumb. We'll get into it in general thoughts. Don't want to spoil a peep. So hold on to your hats, gang. This is going to be a fun week. I'm telling you right now. Before we do all that, though, Tim, I am curious. Prior to this week, what's your Rush history? What's your 2112 history? What's your... I didn't realize it was a palindrome. What's wrong with me? What's your history with Rush and this album?
Very little with this album, possibly none with this album. A couple of these songs sounded vaguely familiar. Definitely didn't know they were Rush songs. May have never heard them before. I've heard Tom Sawyer. What about you?
I have heard a lot of Rush, never heard any of this to my knowledge. I'm sure I've heard it, but I just not knowingly. But specifically, Tim, I used to work in a suburb of Indianapolis doing something, and it was remote, to say the least, and there were very few restaurants. One was a Italian/Mexican restaurant, which I can't express to you is somehow grosser than that sounded.
Doesn't sound gross at all. Italian and Spanish are the same language, so it makes a lot of sense.
No, their cuisine is not. Anyway, you're gross. One of the few places there was to eat was the Tie-Dye Cafe at 1311 North Shadeland Avenue, Suite B, Indianapolis, Indiana. I know that because this was in the era where mobile internet was not much of a thing and you needed to find places. Anyway, this fucking stupid restaurant that served very mediocre food always played the same Rush DVD every day.
Oh, I remember you telling me about this.
And it started at the same time every day. So if I ate lunch at a prototypical normal lunch time, I effectively heard the same, two, because they're very lengthy, Rush songs every day.
Well,
while I ate
this
food
is to be
I
said,
hated.
That is a little bit of an exaggeration because Garrett eats very quickly. I do not believe you can make it through 2 Rush songs. I have seen Garrett bite his own fingers severely because he was eating french fries too quickly and got confused.
Not confused, just ahead of my skis a bit. That's 100% true story. I have bitten my hand to the point of bleeding more than once because I got carried away. But that happens to the best of us, or at least the best of me. I was eating with other people, so I was at the mercy of normal people.
Fair enough.
Anyway, joke's on them. Tie-Dye Grill closed. See you in hell, Shadeland Avenue. I hated that place. Any whoozleby. So yeah, I got some familiarity with Rush, and I kind of we're going to get there. I'm sorry. Before we can talk about the album, the band, the people, we need to understand some context. Put it in perspective, goddammit. Tim, take us on a journey, a magical one. Help us understand. Who is Rush? What is 2112? Why are we talking about this?
To truly understand Rush, we have to begin in Petrograd, aka Leningrad, aka St. Petersburg, the Russian Empire, where Elisa Zinovenieva Rosenbaum was born in 1905 in the pre-Soviet Union days. Garrett, she grew up in a poor Jewish family, and after the October Revolution, her family fled to Crimea, but they would return to St. Petersburg, and she was...
Wait, are all these songs about Lenin?
Nope. And she was among the first women to enroll at Petrograd State University. Of course, she was purged from uni, but later reinstated after a series of foreign exchange students complained about her...
How does one get purged from a university?
Well, you're a free thinker, Garrett. That's not what you want.
But how do you physically purge them? You get out.
Pretty much.
Oh.
Anyway, she graduated from the newly renamed Leningrad State University in 1924, getting a visa to come to the U.S. to become a Hollywood screenwriter, initially working with Cecil B. DeMille and changing her name to, you guessed it, Ayn Rand.
I was going to say, this is Ayn Rand. That's what this is about. God damn, free market economics.
In 1943, released The Fountainhead, written mostly under the influence of the amphetamine Benzedrine, and Garrett it goddamn shows. She would become much more famous, of course, when she wrote Atlas Shrugged and developed Objectivism, which of course would go on to be the foundation of the ideas for all the worst people you know, including the Band of the Week, greatly influencing the current conservative movement, particularly the Libertarian Party.
I thought you were going to say Objectivism, which would later be renamed Evil.
Time, Garrett, she just started allegedly making passionate love to one of history's greatest Casanovas. You guessed it, Alan Greenspan. Now, Al may not look like much now, or frankly then, but that meek demeanor belied what many women would describe a pretty fantastic peacock, and apparently, Garrett, he really knew how to use it. His nimble, agile body, it was everything. Brings us to Toronto, Canada, where Rush, the band, was formed in 1968 by drummist John Rutsey, bassist/singer Jeff Jones, and the only one of the three that would remain in the band for more than a year, Alex Lifeson. Alex, aka Alexander Zvonjevic, was raised in Toronto to some Serbian immigrants, initially playing viola but changing to guitar because his brother-in-law was a flamenco player, and that was 35% cooler than viola. He got super into blues rock and hard rock guitarists, favoring Clapton over Hendrix because Clapton songs were much, much easier to play. He formed a band with John Rutsey in 1963 before dropping out of high school. They were initially called The Lost Cause, then The Projection, and then they broke up and they started a new band with a guy named Jeff Jones as their frontman, playing as a nameless band in churches around the greater Toronto area. Rutsey's brother said they needed a short and to the point name, something like Rush, so they became Rush.
Good enough.
Jeff Jones was having a hard time making it to practice, and so he just stopped coming to practice. He dropped out of the band and suggested Geddy Lee. Now, Geddy Lee Weinrib, aka Geddy Lee, was born in 1953, the son of Holocaust survivors, who have an absolutely beautiful, inspiring story of surviving concentration camps, Auschwitz, Garrett, getting separated, and then after the war, his father finding his mother. Frankly, it brought tears to my eyes when I read it, but unfortunately, we don't have time to delve into that, given that we've already dedicated about 2 hours of this show to a very detailed history of Ayn Rand. Geddy's dad.
You know I'm going to cut all that. I hate you so much.
Cut it. It's important to understanding this album.
They're super into Ayn Rand. That's all you had to say.
But maybe people don't know who Ayn Rand is.
It's fine. That's best.
It is. Geddy's dad died when he was young, and he decided to become a musician because of this. I don't really understand exactly why. He turned his basement into a practice space for his high school friends, and eventually he too dropped out of high school to play professionally, which devastated his mother. And this was part of why he would say he worked so hard to prove himself as Rush's bassist, lead vocalist, and keyboarderer. This incarnation of Rush was initially a Cream and Hendrix cover band. They went through a couple more lineup changes, including kicking Geddy Lee out and renaming themselves Hadrian. Everyone hated that, so they apologized to Geddy, asked him to come back. He did, and they became Rush again. They toured Ontario in the early 1970s, and then the drinking age was lowered to 18, and they got to play more venues, and that really took off. They sent out some demos. Nobody wanted to sign them, so they formed their own record label, Moon Records, and made their first single, which was a cover of Buddy Holly's Not Fade Away, because nobody had done that yet. They got to open for the Big Apple Dolls in Toronto, and eventually they got to release a self-titled debut album in 1974. Now, critics thought it was highly derivative of Led Zeppelin, but those same critics also thought Led Zeppelin was pretty derivative of Better Things as well, which is compounding this, and it's not good. But luckily, a DJ in Ohio started playing Working Man pretty regularly, and it started building them a following in the Cleve, and eventually their record made it to Mercury Records, and they got signed. They kicked their drummer out, because he wasn't able to keep up with their more complex song structures that they wanted to play, and also because he had diabetes, and that was inconvenient with the band, who did not want to have to deal with his needing insulin constantly. They auditioned a few other drummers, finally landing on Neil Peart, who I will be calling Neil Peart because fuck that guy.
Is it really supposed to be pronounced Peart?
Peart, yes. He joined in 1974, right before the first US tour, like 2 weeks before. But Garrett, don't cry for John Rutsey, diabetic extraordinaire. He went on to become an amateur bodybuilder.
That's not nearly as good as drummer for Rush. Also, I do like the monkey's paw scenario they roped themselves into, where they fire one guy because they're like, you just can't keep up, drummer, and then they hire fucking Neil Peart, and he's just like, yeah, watch this. I'm gonna put drums on drums on drums.
Yeah, and it's gross. Neil Peart, aka the Professor, was a Canadian farm boy who learned to drum on various objects around the house with chopsticks until his parents finally bought him real drums to at least keep that in one room and stop ruining all the good china like an asshole. He worked as a carny on one of those ball toss games for a while, but he was fired from being a carny. I do not know how you get fired from being a carny Carney. He was either too creepy or not creepy enough. But
I was going to say, any amount of honesty could probably get you fired.
Fair enough. Either way, he went on to play in some unsuccessful bands around town before he went to London to become a professional musician, which did not work out. While there, he sold jewelry and came across the books of Ayn Rand, which unfortunately would become a huge influence in his life and also his lyrics on all of their albums, including the album of the week.
Yeah, spoiler alert, Neil Peart writes pretty much all the songs.
Yes, and it's a good thing. Even though he's heavily influenced by Ayn Rand, we are going to get two examples of what happens when the other guys write them, and those songs fucking suck.
God, they are real low points on the album.
Yes, which is saying something, because the main point of this album is fucking stupid as well.
It's so great.
It's dumb. He went back to Canada
awesome.
to sell tractor parts with his dad, but then he got that audition for Rush. He partly hit it off with Getty over similar tastes in music and books, which I assume means they were both into the lunatic ramblings of Ayn Rand and her Atlas Shrugged and stuff. Atlases Shrugged, I don't know. They're apparently both assholes. Toured the US, Peart became the main lyricist because he was much better read than the other two, according to the internet, which, again, in this case is a bad thing. Getty and Alex focused on doing like prog rock or whatever.
I mean, they're doing it.
They released Fly By Night in 1975, featuring the song Anthem, a song written about the Ayn Rand book Anthem.
Boo.
And in case Garrett cut some of that detailed history of Ayn Rand, the context, first of all, shame on him, but I read a comment on her from the interwebs that I think perfectly sums her up. I don't know how to cite this, and also I'm paraphrasing, but it goes something like, it's not as though she didn't have anything interesting to say, it's just that for every thought-provoking statement she ever made, there were another 100 that sounded like they were straight from the mouth of Cobra Commander.
People do not reference Cobra Commander enough.
Agreed. That guy had some philosophy or something about trains, maybe.
I always wanted to see his face.
Yeah, well, it's mostly just some sort of horrible Benzedrine nightmare under there.
Nice.
Yeah. Rush toured for that album as the openers for Kiss and Aerosmith before they started headlining their own stuff. Then they released Caress of Steel, featuring the 12-minute multi-part The Necromancer and the 20-minute multi-part The Fountain of Lament.
That was the other contender for this show.
Yeah, that sold poorly. The tour didn't do great either. Unfortunately, instead of moving in a more commercial direction, their next album was the album of the week 2112, released in 1976.
Awful.
They toured all over Europe, the US, and Canada in support, and they recorded a double live album at Massey Hall in 1976 as well. At the end of that tour, they recorded 2 albums in Wales, A Farewell to Kings and Hemispheres. Those got more prog rocky. They're now more patterning themselves after Yes and King Crimson, both of which are indisputably better bands. These get more synthy, they have more weird time signatures, and they start featuring songs about things like Kubla Khan and black holes, and have more of these dumb multiple-part pretentious suites that can just go fuck themselves.
Different opinion.
In 1980, they released Permanent Waves with reggae.
Oh.
Some reggae. I assume there was a fake Jamaican accent on that. In 81, they released Moving Pictures featuring Tom Sawyer. Again, a song which may or may not feature a bunch of N-bombs. Listen if you dare. They also released another live album that year. I have never listened to any of their live stuff, but if they wanted to do something funny, they should do the opposite of what all other bands do and do like more restrained, tighter sets, shorter songs than they do in studio. I would appreciate that.
That would be amazing.
In 82, they released Signals, and according to the internet, that gets way more new wavy, incorporating ska and funk at various points. They released Grace Under Pressure in 85, Power Windows also in 85, Hold Your Fire in 87, a third live album, A Show of Hands in 89, Presto in 89, Roll the Bones in 91. I'm obviously rushing through these because who could care?
Yes, please do.
I'm sure they're all terrible. They went back to more guitars and less synth in Counterparts in 93 and Test for Echo in 96. And then Neil Peart's daughter died in 1997 in a car crash, and his wife died in 98 of cancer. So he semi-quit and just sort of rode around the US on a motorcycle, which he would eventually write about in a book called Ghost Rider. travels on the healing road, which of course would later be turned into a Nicolas Cage movie that bears very little resemblance to the memoir.
I think it was like metaphor.
Fair enough. He did Flaming Skull. What is that a metaphor? It doesn't matter. By 2000, he was remarried and decided to go back to Rush. Didn't take him too long. Rush spent 14 months putting together the 68 goddamn minute-long Vapor Trails, released in 2002. Cannot possibly be any good. Glad we didn't do that. They did a huge tour for that, released a live album, and then they released a covers album called Feedback, some more live stuff. They released the album Snakes and Arrows in 2007. Care to guess what that hit on the US Billboard 200?
11.
3. Garrett, people bought Rush's 2007 album Snakes and Arrows.
I firmly believe what they're doing is they're counting units. Well, at that point, now it's obviously streaming units, but I think they may have been counting units like distributed to Target and Walmart and Best Buy.
Maybe they sold them right to some sort of landfill.
I mean, it's always possible.
Like, what the fuck was that game?
That E.T. game?
Yeah, like the E.T. game.
God, when they actually uncovered those in the desert, I was just shocked.
Yeah.
Who knew? Anyway, we almost done with this. Jesus.
Then Rush released Snakes and Arrows Live. Then they got that I Love You Man boost. The only real positive association I have with this band, which is mostly just Paul Rudd saying slap it a bass, and Jason Steven Seagal explaining why he likes to masturbate using condoms.
Makes sense.
In 2012, they released what would be their 19th and final album, Clockwork Angels. They toured on that. They were inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in 2013. In 2014, they did the R40 tour, the 40th anniversary of Neil Peart joining. They toured some more, and then Neil Peart died in 2020 of a glioblastoma, and they basically stopped being a band.
Jesus.
In 2021, Geddy and Alex said they were working on new music, and they were also offered a TV show, Garrett, an adaptation, for Canada, a big budget adaptation of the song 2112, which was immediately greenlit on the Canadian production side, but ultimately Geddy and Alex said it would be too much work. And to that I say, please reconsider. Listen, it's ill-conceived, it will be terrible, but it will be the right kind of terrible. Like, let's get those Game of Thrones guys to make this terrible Ayn Rand inspired sci-fi epic for like $20 million an episode on HBO. There's not enough source material to fill out, 11 lines of lyrics. I want to see this.
Yeah, I would thoroughly enjoy this. Now you're pitching it as a multi-episode series is ridiculous.
That's what they were pitching it as, a TV series.
Oh, God, I thought it was just going to be like a special.
I don't think so. That's not the way I read it anyway. In 2022, Geddy and Alex performed for the South Park 25th anniversary concert with Matt Stone on drums for some reason. I assume that was slightly less good. Then they performed at a bunch of Taylor Hawkins tribute shows with Dave Grohl and Chadley Smith of the Red Hot Chili Peppers on drums for various songs. They've said they're definitely thinking about making something Rush related again. I don't know. Who cares? La face.
And a who cares right back to you. That might be my new sign off for the history segment. Who cares?
Hurtful.
Yeah, but it's about them, not you. I appreciate you doing the work.
Even all that Ayn Rand stuff?
I hated that. And I
but
hate
it's
you
gonna
for doing
be
it.
necessary.
It won't.
It will. For you to understand.
You explained stuff to me that I'm fully aware of and unhappy about knowing to begin with.
You didn't know all that
I'm
Alan
cut at
Greenspan
least 2
stuff.
hours
Don't
of
you
that.
dare cut the Alan Greenspan bit.
I won't cut the Greenspan business, but the 2 hours before it will be cut.
God damn it.
All right. Well, that's their history. We've given our history. That means it's finally time for a little something we like to call general thoughts. Let's begin with the sounds likes. Blue Oyster Cult, Jethro Tull, sort of a Pink Floyd thing on this album specifically.
Yeah, the music, I don't even know if it's the style, but the sound of this band varies wildly.
Yes.
Like, there are songs on this that do not sound, there are parts of songs on this that do not sound like the same band is playing.
Yes, it's awesome.
Yeah, and it's not an album. This is one overly long single with some of the most inconsequential B-sides you'll ever hear.
Yeah, it really is crazy to call this an album.
Yeah, and I was thinking about this because it doesn't, 2112 does not really make a lot of sense as a suite, right? And I say that because the musical styles within that song are so different. There's a lot of like hard stops. It would be weird if Pink Floyd had have done Dark Side of the Moon and just done, like, it's just one track. Fuck you guys, listen to it all at once. Like, break this up into individual songs because the instrumentation changes are jarring enough that it would make sense to do that. I think the reason they didn't is because they didn't write enough to make a concept album. They wrote enough to make they didn't half a concept song and then they filled it out with instrumentals, but they didn't want to like admit to that. So they just were like, it's one song. It's just a series of suites. Fuck you guys.
Yeah. All right. So we should, since we've kind of hinted at it, we should kind of explain the structure here because I've got to imagine, unless you requested it, you don't know what we're talking about. The album is broken up into what they call side 1 and side 2. Side 1 is one song. It's one song, one track, but it's 20 minutes long. And within that one track, there are multiple segments, each with their own title that are about their own thing, with their own musical stylings that will literally stop playing and then begin playing the next piece. Right. That's half this album.
It is 7 songs that they're calling one song.
Yes, well put. The other side, side 2, is just 6 other songs or 5 other songs.
Yeah. It's like they wanted to put out In-A-Gadda-Da-Vida, and then they said, right, but In-A-Gadda-Da-Vida, we're just going to have 7 songs, and we're just going to call it that.
It's like 3 people split up to go write songs for one album, and one guy came back and was like, I did this.
Yeah. That's the thing, because even when they're all playing at the same time, like everyone in this band is very good at their instruments. You're never going to, you'll find occasional contrarians, but for the most part, pretty much everyone thinks they're at least good. I'm not sure that they're as great as no one here should be called the professor, but whatever. Like, I don't think they're as great as everyone seems to think, but everyone's a good musician. The problem is, a lot of the time, it's like they're trying to jam in a jazz club for the first time. Everyone's just kind of doing their own thing, and it oftentimes doesn't gel into a cohesive whole.
It does make it a little noisy.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like if you listen to good jazz, it sounds like noise, and then all of a sudden you hit a point, and you're just like, oh, I get what's happening here. And then there's a through line that you can follow. And, it's still messy, but like it's all tailored to this one thing. For example, it's why like Eric Johnson's Hendrix covers are not as good as Hendrix songs, despite him probably being at least a better technical player.
Right. Where do I want to start with this? They're like the nerdy older brother of Van Halen.
Yeah.
It's really strange, almost bordering on like, this is what Queen would sound like if it was American.
Yeah, if they played a lot of Dungeons and Dragons and were also pretty high up in Scientology.
Yes, exactly. What I like about this album, because I told you I do not hate this album, there's almost no way you're going to get me there. What I like about this album is that despite its completely fucked up structure that clearly articulates that they never had enough for either a normal album or a super weird album. It was just they Lennon McCartney'd it in the worst way possible.
Absolutely.
Despite that, within each song, if you just take each song, so even like the stupid 20-minute song, if you take it end to end, they set out to tell a story in that song, which we're going to detail, do not worry. They set out to tell that story, and for my money, they told it. I was able to follow what was going on. There's a beginning, a middle, and an end. It's stupid as could be, which is almost making it even better, because it's just like, this is, if like middle schoolers wrote a musical, what is this?
Oh yeah, absolutely. If middle schoolers that were super into D&D and also were upper level Scientologists. There's all these DC-8s and they're flying into volcanoes. It is dumb.
And then all the other songs that aren't that weird 20-minute song, independently, for the most part, there's 2 exceptions, as Tim and I mentioned, what happens when Neil Peart's not writing. But for the most part, I'm like, this is what this song's called? That's probably what it's about. Look at that. That's what it's about. Great.
Yeah, but in at least one situation, that is so insane.
No one's speaking to sanity. Like, almost all of this is a ludicrous madman's endeavor that serves no grander purpose that could either be considered intellectually stimulating or art. But
So
for me, that is
this.
a sweet spot. Exactly.
All right, Garrett, I feel like the only way I'm going to get you to hate this is by doing another 2 hours on Ayn Rand. And I'm
It's just
prepared to
going to make
do
me
that.
hate you more.
Oh.
Ugh. Now, there is a chance if the parallels become too great with ultra-conservatism that I might start to not enjoy this as much. But on the surface, at least, it's so weird and dumb.
Yeah, but they do, in fact, parallel it pretty well. I'll get into it.
Great. Okay. I also have a theory that this entire first song might be the inspiration for Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure.
Interesting. So Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure then was at least in part inspired by Ayn Rand. Love it.
Yes. Okay, anyway, what else do we need to say before we get into these songs?
I think that's probably good. That's a good introduction.
Yeah, they're very talented. It's not necessarily for me, although I like progressive rock more than I think even you do. I found this very listenable for the most part.
I did. I mean, I did too. It's bombastic. I walked back and forth across the Central Park listening to this, them screaming about the priests of the Temple of Syrinx, and I hope no one can tell what I'm listening to. I mean, I'm singing it at the top of my lungs, so they probably can.
Yeah, they can. I was routinely reminded of the oldest brother on F is for Family in his band.
Yes! That is an okay, so that's what this is. Exactly what this is.
They're super into Rush. Okay, that brings us to side 1, track 1, part 1, Overture. An overture.
We're going to get into the story of the song.
Sure.
I would like to note that there is a comic book or graphic novel, if you're an asshole, which tells the story in so much detail, and I got a good portion of it on PDFs. It is exactly what you're picturing. Yeah. So we start off with the sound of wind and I guess the sound of computers in 1976. It's very synthy.
I said space noises, a lot of whirring synths and warbling.
Yeah. In the overture section, it plays sort of a hodgepodge of bits from each of the following sections, kind of out of context, which...
I mean, it plays an overture, I believe, is what we would be calling it.
But I mean, it's because of the way the rest of the songs are structured, this is also jarring.
It's insanely jarring, and it made me question, and it's probably unanswerable. Do you think that they, in order to create this first part, the overture, which in case people aren't tracking, is literally a combination of pieces and parts from the songs that we are about to hear? It's an appetizer, an amuse-bouche, if you will, for the ears.
You need to stop watching Bobby Flay. Jesus Christ.
I have to understand his patterns and his ways if I'm to defeat him. Not at cooking.
No.
I've already bested him at that. I mean, in life.
Yeah, he just keeps grabbing your ears and throwing you to the ground every time you try.
Anyway, yeah, I don't know what that is.
He's scrappy.
It seems reasonably defensible, but there I am on the ground again. Anyway.
he's a Long Island boy, Garrett.
God damn you and your Bobby Flay knowledge. What was I saying? Right. My question to you is, do you think that they pulled pieces and parts from the various tracks that had been recorded? Or do you think that the band sat down and recorded the overture?
I think they recorded it.
Yeah, I think that's the only way it fits the way it does.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Because it's not it's not, like, the parts aren't exact. It's sort of,
yeah, it's sort of a repurposing.
Yeah.
Let's see here. During this overture, we get warmed up to what's about to happen. A lot of big guitars, probably a banjo at parts, but I mean, it sounds like Rush. Then we get a guitar version of the 1812 overture. I don't know if you caught that Tchaikovsky hit.
Don't know what the words you're saying are.
That's fascinating. Then the music ends with some explosions. Who knew that was coming?
Yeah, some explosions, and the only lyric in this section, a Bible verse that does not relate at all to the rest of this, and the meek shall inherit the earth.
And it's sung by what I am picturing to be the meek. And that brings us to what I'm going to call side 1, track 2, the Temples of Syrinx.
This is where it gets great. Of course, this is a song about the utmost evil, a socialistic society, the worst thing imaginable by Neil Peart, aka Ayn Rand.
Now, making it such that it's run by a temple of priests, you could argue it's sort of a theocracy.
Well, sure, but I mean, it's
not what it's based on.
He's thinking of Russia, come on.
Yeah.
The wailing vocals are... Oof. They sound like a parody of 70s rock. Like, if you were going to make a song making fun of Led Zeppelin, I would hire this guy to do the vocals.
Yeah, it's jarring. And I was even, ready for Geddy Lee. I know what he sounds like, and I still was like, holy shit.
Do you know what he looks like?
Yeah. He looks like your Aunt Linda who smokes too much.
Yeah.
But, I didn't realize just how influential Rush was to the 80s hair metal sound.
Oh, yeah. This is, I guess they were there for it. I guess they were doing reggae and ska by that point. But
yeah, no one was listening, but they were still doing it. Anyway, so let's see. Yeah, we get the Geddy Lee high-pitched scream that just even I found jarring. And we're taken in to meet the world, Tim. The world we'll be inhabiting. I described it as 1984 meets Iran roughly 3 years after this song came out.
Sure, but also presided over by some sort of space lizards in a priest garb.
Interesting. I said theocratic space overlords. We are very close here.
Yeah, well, it's just what they're saying.
Now, this
Also,
part of my notes.
I read the comic.
Oh, I did not. Song goes, we've taken care of everything. The words you read, the songs you sing, the pictures that give pleasure to your eye. It's one for all and all for one. We work together, common son. Never need to wonder how or why. So communism.
Right, yeah.
But run by space lizards.
Exactly. And also, there's a little bit of Q stuff in there, maybe? Is that,
Yeah, but what would it have been back then?
I don't know. I
think it's just good old-fashioned Red Scare business. McCarthyism.
Fair enough.
Well, that was long gone by the 70s.
Yeah, but not if if you're an Ayn Rand fan, it's still alive in your heart.
Goddamn right it is. You're going to hold on to that love and feel until your boy Ronnie Reagan brings it home.
Right. And there's a solar federation under the control of priests of the Temple of Syrinx that worship computers or use computers. I don't know exactly.
I definitely wrote down worships computers, robots, or possibly technology in general. Are we talking about some sort of psychohistory?
Oh, that's fun. But to be clear, they're giant computers. I kept thinking of the Dr. Frink, like, I predict that within 10 years, computers will be twice as powerful, 10,000 times larger, and so expensive that only the 5 richest kings of Europe will own them.
God, that's funny.
Yeah. So the chorus goes, we are the priests of the Temple of Syrinx. Our great computers fill the hallowed halls. We are the priests of the temples of Syrinx. All the gifts of life are held within our walls. And again, this sounds like Spinal Tap bullshit. Like,
we are the priests of the temples of Syrinx. It's awesome.
It's more ridiculous than that even. It sounds like the Simpsons version of Spinal Tap. Like,
yeah, it's crazy.
We salute you, our half-inflated Dark Lord.
Mountain Dew in my chest. Oh,
by the way, I accidentally picked up a non-diet Mountain Dew the other day.
Oh no.
It felt like a horse kicked me in the chest.
Yeah, that's Slurm, my friend. You were drinking Slurm.
Yes.
Ugh. Yeah, so we learned that the entire society is being run by this temple of priests of the Temple Syrinx, which will be referenced heavily in the show going forward, so really log it in the back of your minds. It's very funny to me. And when this happened, Tim, this is what sold me. When this chorus kicks in and it's so fucking ridiculous and silly, and I'm picturing lizards in like Star Wars robes.
Oh yeah.
And it's great. I'm on board. Song continues. Look around at this world we've made. Equality our stock in trade. Come and join the brotherhood of man. Oh, what a nice contented world. Let the banners be unfurled. Hold your red star proudly high in hand. Well, at that point, there's no guessing anymore. You're literally talking about the Red Star of Communism.
Right. The worst thing. And Ayn Rand is jamming out to this.
Yes, though. And then we end with a lute that slowly fades out to silence, of course. And that's what Tim was talking about. Like, this is rocking hard, and there's all sorts of crazy bleeps and blorps and guitars, and then it's just like doodle 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 doodle. And like, okay, what are we doing? Now for me, that's a plus. I'm loving this. This is ridiculous. Song fades out. Track number 3, side 1, Discovery.
What can this strange device be? When I touch
Instrumental break, Gino.
Yeah, there's some tuning, noodling on a
Dude,
guitar.
it sounds like someone tuning their guitar next to a bathtub that's being filled up.
Yes.
And it is enraging.
Yes. It is a completely different song. It's not allowed to be its own track, of course. But the narrator has discovered a guitar and is slowly learning to play it, I think is the conceit here, becoming more confident.
Yes. But I want to mention the stylistic change at the beginning of this song. It's the meekest, like Broadway style talk singing. What can this strange device be? It sounds like if Griffin Newman were to like be the lead in a musical.
Ugh.
It's going to be awkward when you run into him.
It's awkward every time I do run into him, Garrett. We are in a feud that he doesn't know about. And
Yeah, that's
I
weird.
can't attack him on the street. He's tiny, and he knows that big scary man.
Yeah, they're not friends at all.
No.
That didn't end well. Anyway,
Maybe we're thinking
continuing
about
on.
different things.
Oh, I'm thinking about the Tick.
Oh, no.
What are you thinking about?
I don't want to say now.
I'm not sure I want to know. Anyway, song continues. What can this strange device be? When I touch it, it gives forth a sound. It's got wires that vibrate and give music. What can this thing be that I found? It's so stupid.
It is.
Listen to this song, folks.
Terrible.
It's great.
Okay,
it's great.
I should say this. I recommend this album to, or at least the first side of this, to all of our listeners. But keep in mind, this is the dumbest thing you will hear in quite some time.
Yeah, it's really silly. It's stupid. It's weird that it's not a Monty Python sketch.
Yep.
But it's not. It's totally real, and they're serious, which makes me just smile ear to ear. Can you hear the smile, folks? You can hear it, can't you? Let's keep going. See how it sings like a sad heart and joyously screams out its pain? It's, at this point, like, I hadn't fully clocked it because I didn't want to know anything about the song going into it, and you kind of get the impression like it's sort of like a Footloose type situation where there's just no music. Because he's that confused about what an instrument is.
Like, what's that shitty Christian Bale movie?
Footloose.
No, you're thinking of Christian.
Oh, you're thinking of the Newsies.
No, definitely not that. Equilibrium, Garrett.
Oh, yeah, that's what this is.
Yeah, but in space.
I don't know why I thought you were thinking of Newsies.
I don't think you did. I think you were trying to be funny and you're now covering for it because I didn't laugh.
No, I had a whole thing set up about getting the papes.
Right, that's what I'm saying. And then I didn't find it entertaining, and so now you're just pretending to move on.
I see what I'm doing.
Sounds that build high like a mountain, or notes that fall gently like rain. I can't wait to share this new wonder. The people will all see its light. Let them all make their own music. The priests praise my name on this night. So he's going to share it, right? He's found a guitar, yep. He's learned how to play it, and he's going to share it with the world. Now, Garrett, Ayn Rand's anthem is about a young man known as Equality 7-2521. Again, who is secretly doing scientific work. He rediscovers light bulbs and takes it to the elders who punish them for it. So he runs away and sets up a new society based on individualism or bootstraps or whatever. And Garrett, this entire plot is just stolen from this book and repurposed to be about music. And here's the thing. I would have more respect for this if they read this book and were like, well, clearly this story sucks. Nobody has read this. We're going to steal it and pass it off as original, knowing that no one has read it, as opposed to them reading it and being like, this is so great, we have to bring it to the masses.
Well, this is a clear situation of something being done before the internet existed.
Yeah.
And before anyone could conceive of it. Because if the internet did not exist today, there's nobody having a conversation at scale to say, hey, do you think Russia's just super into Ayn Rand? And like, you just might wonder it with your friend one day, but that'd be the start and the end of it, because you wouldn't care enough to go find out. But now you can just Google it and you're like, yeah, they are.
Yeah,
yeah, they are. That's weird.
Gross.
It is gross. Alrighty. Last thing before we get into part 4. Does he not know the society he lives in? Has he never met the priests of the Temple of Syrinx?
Yeah, it does seem naive, stupid. I don't know. The whole thing, it honestly doesn't make sense, right? It's the equilibrium. If somebody's just like, I'm sorry, have you guys heard of joy? We could all be happy. No, that's not what we're doing.
But I found a puppy.
Yeah, we're gonna crush that puppy. It's gonna be gross.
Well, luckily they didn't. He stopped them with his gun fu.
I think they killed a lot of puppies right off screen right before that.
They did. But he saved the one that I liked. Anyway, track number 4, part 4, side 1, presentation.
Yes, we know,
80s glam rock delivery again, and I'm into it.
Yeah, I'm happy the pace has picked up. It's a nice change.
And let's get right into it. He's brought his guitar before the elders of Syrinx, and he says...
The priests of the Temple of Syrinx, get it right.
I'm so sorry.
Don't forget about their great computers either. They fill the hollowed halls.
Why? Anyway, either they're priests or they're like technologists, but it's too much. It's too much. Anyway.
Cleric.
I know it's cleric.
I recently rewatched Equilibrium a couple of times. I don't know if you can tell.
A couple of times is what makes it really disturbing. Because I've also recently watched Equilibrium, and it isn't good.
I like when he cuts that guy's face off.
What?
He cuts the man's face off. The guy that's like tracking him, they're like, we're going to have this epic fight. And then he just slices his face off.
Oh, right, with the sword.
Okay, let's get back to this because I can't deal with whatever it is you're doing.
What do you mean? Is it not with a sword?
It is with a sword, Garrett. Of course it's with a goddamn sword.
It took me a minute to remember the end of Equilibrium. Excuse me.
Gun kata is cool. I think we can agree on that at the very
God,
least.
it was called gun kata. You have done more than just watch it. You've been living it.
Well...
Song continues. I know it's most unusual to come before you so, but I've found an ancient miracle I thought that you should know. Listen to my music and hear what it can do. There's something here as strong as life. I know that it will reach you. Idiot. Yeah. He's lucky they didn't melt him right there. And
right, with
offer
their
him
laser
for worship
eyes.
to Syrinx. Who's Syrinx?
Oh,
Is it a god?
I assume it's a fiery bird.
Oh, I hate birds.
Well, sure, but this one's on fire, and it's...
What about that bird-like creature from that hit film, Rebel Moon? What is it called?
Rebel Moon Part 1. A
Right.
child
No.
of fire.
Right, that's the original title, right?
A chalice of blood.
God, you're insane. Anyway, that bird thing, but like on fire.
Yeah, all right.
Song continues. Standing there, big pie-eyed, holding this guitar, expecting it to be awesome, and instead the priests reply with this. Yes, we know it's nothing new. It's just a waste of time. We have no need for ancient ways. The world is doing fine. Another toy that helped destroy the elder race of man. Forget about your silly whim. It doesn't fit the plan, no. So, they write him off. Luckily, that's all they do. I was expecting him to be struck dead.
Well, yeah, as they should have.
And then for some reason, our main character, should we give him a name? Did we give him a name? Does he need a name? Horatio? Ayn?
John Galtz, how about that?
Ugh. Anyway, where was I? I can't believe you're saying these things just can't be true. Our world could use this beauty. Just think what we might do. And I'm not entirely sure what he thinks the magic is gonna, or what the music's gonna do. Like, it's putting a lot of stakes in it, but if there is no music, that's a bad situation.
Sure. But I assume he thinks it's going to like warm some hearts. Maybe he's not going to have to work anymore.
Yeah, that's fair. If you're really good at, if he learned guitar that he just magically found, he's probably just like, oh, this is way better than lugging those rocks for the Temple of Syrinx.
Oh, you got to make it bigger every year.
Every year. Otherwise, you don't love Syrinx.
And Garrett, I want to be clear right here, just in case Syrinx is listening. I do love Syrinx, and I will help build your massive, mighty temple.
Can Syrinx be like a giant ant or beetle, or maybe a hippopotamus? I'm just not okay with the bird, because Syrinx in my mind can talk, and no birds talk, except for those talking birds.
What hippopotamus talks?
I don't know. It just makes more sense, right? Feels natural.
No, it's a bird.
I feel like if they wanted to, they could.
No, it's a bird.
It's a bird?
A flaming bird. But not a phoenix, to be clear. Completely different.
If it could talk, what do you think it would say? Help, I'm on fire. We both got there. You just screamed. Fantastic. God almighty. Anyway. The priests, of course, interrupt young John Galt, and they say, don't annoy us further. Oh, we have our work to do. Just think about the average. What use have they for you? Another toy that helped destroy the elder race of man. Forget about your silly whim. It doesn't fit the plan.
And this is why I was thinking about Equilibrium, because the art destroyed humanity. Mm-hmm. It's kind of that movie.
Oh, yeah. I mean, no one's arguing that Equilibrium is the same as 1984, which we've already said.
Right. And a little Fahrenheit 451.
Of course. It's weird. They really are the same fucking movie. Book.
Yeah.
I actually enjoy both.
Did you ever see that god-awful Michael B. Jordan Fahrenheit 451 thing that HBO keeps trying to make me watch?
It's terrible.
Yeah.
Don't watch it, America. Don't worry. I don't need to say that. They did.
Yeah, he's magnanimous, though, as always.
We love MBJ here on this show. He's invited anytime in the third seat. The coveted third seat. It's reserved for him, Rachel Ray. I thought we allowed a third person if they ever want to come in and guest
Bobby
co-host. Flay. No, that red-headed fuck can eat dick and die.
You heard it here first, Bobby Flay. A challenge.
If I see that guy in this studio, I'm going to grab that motherfucker by the ears and
no, you're not.
Bash his face on the cabinet.
That is almost the exact opposite of what's going to happen. He always gets your ears.
Anyway, I hate Bobby Flay. Do you not? Yeah, we can't have this conversation again. I'm sorry. Let's see. After he gets blown off by the priest, the lizard priest, that is, make sure you're picturing lizards, everybody. Big 6-foot lizards. There's a pretty fun guitar solo. I'm pretty into this song still. Music completely fades out. And that brings us to track number 5, Oracle, The Dream.
Actually, it's 2112 V. Oracle The Dream, as if Zack Snyder is naming this.
I was going to say, there's a lot of Snyder parallels here.
We're slowing it down again, and this portion of the song is some jackass's dream?
Yeah, I hate this. So after being dejected by the priests of Syrinx, our main character, John Galt, wanders home through silent streets and fell into a fitful sleep, escaped to realms beyond the night. Dream, can't you show me the light? He's looking for answers in his dreams. Tim, have you ever been shown answers or the future in your dreams?
I always think I have, and then it turns out that they're just dreams.
Right, because they're just dreams.
Yeah.
And this guy is looking for answers in his. Song continues. I stand atop a spiral stair. An oracle confronts me there. He leads me on light years away through astral nights, galactic days. I see the world of gifted hands that grace this strange and wondrous land. I see the hand of man arise with hungry mind and open eyes. Tim, how do you spot an oracle?
Well, I mean, I assume that they are wearing a hood.
Okay.
Like a hooded robe.
Yep, sure. That sounds right.
And I assume there's a faint glow coming from under the hood.
What about that oracle in those Matrix movies? Although that's fiction, so I guess.
Well, that's inside of a computer. Count. It's a program.
That's right. They could have made it look however they wanted. Mm-hmm. Also, it's just not going to be as realistic as a real oracle.
Right.
Interesting. You had a fascinating yet accurate answer to that question. So it appears in his dream he's taken to a foreign civilization light years away that's filled with science and culture, and he begins to dream of that becoming his home and an uprising.
Now, do you think that the world he lives on is Earth many millennia in the future? Or
yes,
okay.
I do. In 2112.
No, that doesn't make sense. That's too soon. 3113, perhaps. Before the lizards rise and grow to 6 feet tall and rule over us?
You're assuming that those lizards rise from here. What if they come here?
Oh.
If all of our gifted and brilliant leave the planet, leaving dolts unable to defend each other or defend ourselves, it's just a matter of time for the lizard people to move in. FEMA camps! Anyway, we're bordering on... God, didn't we just have a conversation about tamping down the extremism?
No.
I'm pretty sure we had a staff meeting and the only agenda item was conspiracy theories.
I'm not sure I attended that.
Oh my God, you were standing next to me. Remember I kept screaming, I don't think you're paying attention? Okay, great.
I don't.
They left our planets long ago. The elder race still learn and grow. Their powers grow with purpose strong to claim the home where they belong. Home to tear the temples down. Home to change. So Tim, I mean, he's dreaming that the scientists that left are going to come back and free the entire Solar Federation.
Sure, yeah.
Their words.
This last part feels like an aborted attempt to start some sort of new Scientology. You know, tear down the temples of the psychiatrists. There are no snakes at the foot of my bed.
So that brings us to the end of the dream sequence. The Oracle has shown him of the land before time, or at least his time, and he's hoping that they will return and destroy the temples of Syrinx. You're obligated to say it that way. And overthrow the lizard people. And that brings us to track number 6, Soliloquy. More running water in the background. What a weird choice.
Yes, we're slowing it down again, and we have arrived at the suicide portion of the story. Spoilers.
This is one of those instances you asked me to point it out in real time, where you're being a bit of a downer.
well, listen, Garrett, the dream was so nice that he can't live in the real world anymore. The sleep is still in my eyes. The dream is still in my head. I heave a sigh and sadly smile and lie a while in bed. I wish that it might come to pass, not fade like all my dreams. Probably gonna, though, right? Because again, it is a dream. Just think of what my life might be in a world like I have seen. I don't think I can carry on this cold and empty life. Oh no, a guitar break.
massive guitar solo, and it's pretty rockin'.
Absolutely. And then it ends with, my spirits are low in the depths of despair, my lifeblood spills over. He killed himself, right? Because he's sad about the guitar.
I mean, that's the most likely reading, and I believe it is the intended reading. I wanted to be optimistic, but yeah, it sounds like he's stabbing himself.
Right. So basically, this story is a kid. and it makes sense because you have to think about how these guys grew up, right? They all, at least two, maybe all three of them dropped out of high school in Canada to pursue playing music. And we know that several of them, their parents were horrified by this. So basically, this is the story of a kid. This is the allegory of a kid whose mom takes his guitar away so that he'll study. And he responds by calling her Stalin and threatening to kill himself because that'll show her.
Yikes. You're being a real Temple of Syrinx right now, Mom.
Well,
Don't know what that means. You're being a real priest of the Temple of Syrinx right now. I don't. You're grounded another week for calling me that. I don't know what it means. Kids and your slang. Yeah, so it sounds like he's killing himself when we get to the end of part 6. But Tim, there's a part 7 somehow. Grand finale, track number 7.
We get an instrumental that sounds very triumphant, despite, again, the narrator just killing himself because those mean adults smashed his guitar and told him to get a real job.
Yeah, have you ever seen the movie Heavy Metal?
Oh, yeah. I was thinking about that quite a bit during this.
Yeah, sort of seemed like that a little bit. Outro is a bit ambiguous. It says, attention all planets of the Solar Federation. Attention all planets of the Solar Federation. This weekend only. Deals, deals, deals. No. Attention all planets of the Solar Federation. We have assumed control. We have assumed control. We have assumed control.
Yes. I guess the Galactic Priests have officially, they got rid of the last guitar. They have won out over music and self-expression or something.
Yep. Lizard people have been conquered. The Temple of Syrinx lies in a pile of ash, although Syrinx is fine because it's just a flaming bird. I don't know what you do about that. Maybe throw him in a fountain.
Maybe
but
it's
unfortunately,
the
our main character,
bush, from that Bible you love so much.
That is you. Goodness. I hope not. That's a horrible deity. What are you guys into? You got like a thunderbolt dude or a guy that runs fast? No, we have a bush. What? Oh, it's on fire. You got a burning bush.
So you worship fire? No.
No, the bush that's on fire. And so if it weren't on fire, you would just be worshiping a bush.
We wouldn't worship it if it wasn't on fire.
So it's all about the fire. No, my friend, it's the fire
bush.
And the bush.
Yes.
You'll see.
Now,
take your clothes off and step inside. A very strange cult.
Yes. Now, again, we have kind of stopped discussing the annotations of the Scholars of Genius lyrics.
Luckily.
But I want to add this, Garrett. Of interesting note is that the phrase, attention all planets of the Solar Federation, consists of 7 words and is repeated 3 times. We have assumed control is composed of 4 words and is repeated 3 times. 7 times 3 equals 21. 4 times 3 equals 12. Combining the two gives the title of the song 2112.
Okay.
If that was intentional, that sucks.
My gut is almost always to say, like, no, of course not. That's just somebody reaching.
No, it definitely is. This is numerology. Of course it is.
I don't know, Tim. Did you just listen to the Temples of Syrinx?
Yeah, they almost certainly did that on purpose.
Yeah, it's on purpose. It's 100% on purpose. My God. All right, well, that tells the tale, though. There's a beginning, a middle, and an end. It's a tragic story. It's basically Romeo and Juliet if the lady was a guitar.
It's basically Ayn Rand's anthem.
Sure. Also a little Romeo and Juliet if Juliet was the guitar. I guess he would have had to set the guitar on fire. Anyway, I digress. Anything else you want to say about that magnum opus before we get to side number 2, the completely unrelated 5 other songs on this album?
No, let's do it.
Side 2, track 1, A Passage to Bangkok.
Well, Garrett, this starts off with a variation of the quote-unquote Oriental riff, aka the quote-unquote East Asian riff, aka the quote-unquote the Chinaman lick.
AKA, we're going to definitely bleep some of those words. AKA a thing that we don't put into movies or songs anymore.
Yeah, this is, if you're wondering what this is if you were thinking of a really racist cartoon. So you've got the buck teeth, there's a gong, and then there's the dee-dee-dee-dee-dee-dee dee. That's for some reason on here. I think we discussed this at length way back when we talked about the vapors turning Japanese way back in Prepisode 61, December 7th, 2021. 2020.
What? Did you look that up?
No, Garrett, I know all of our episodes and prepisodes.
Jesus.
I am the show's historian.
Okay. I'm not sure I sign off on that. Anyway, you have a real nasty habit of revisionist history in almost every setting.
Sure, but you were the one that once pronounced me the historian of the show.
God damn it, I probably did. Anyway, I hate work. This song appears to be basically a tour of Italy version of Drugs.
Yeah, I mean, it's the classic Why I Hate This Album feature of a bad song just naming places, but it's like the California girls of like global drug trades.
Yeah, it's sort of We Didn't Start the Fire, but just about drugs.
Yeah, it's pretty great.
So let's get into it. This whole song is ridiculous and we'll get through it fast. Our first stop is in Bogota to check Colombian fields. The natives smile and pass along a sample of their yield. Sweet Jamaican pipe dreams, golden Acapulco nights, then Moroccan and the East fly by morning light.
I want to just tell our younger listeners here, do not show up in Bogota, check Colombian fields. The natives will not smile and give you drugs. You will be shot in the face.
Yes, you will be shot in the face.
That's literally the best thing that could happen to you in that situation.
It's a lot better there, like way better than it ever used to be. But it's not like you can't do that.
Right.
At best, you're just immediately shot in the face. At worst, you are ransomed over a series of months.
Yes, and over a series of body parts.
Oh, Jesus. Well, they gotta prove they're serious. Anyway, this song, let's try to list the drugs. Bogota, cocaine. Jamaican pipe dream / Acapulco gold. That's marijuanas. And I think maybe Morocco in the East is hash?
Presumably, yeah. Which, again, just marijuana.
Yeah, but a little different, I've heard.
It is.
We're on the train to Bangkok aboard the Thailand Express. We'll hit the stops along the way. We only stop for the best.
That's a sex thing.
Oh, I hope not. But they are definitely in an area that is known for its sex tourism. Ugh. They're also, though, I got out my Mapsco. I took a little look-see at the geography. They could easily be traveling through the Golden Triangle from Burma to Bangkok. You would be on the Thailand Express.
Right.
And, I mean, that's one of the most heavily trafficked areas for heroin and opiates in the world.
Also humans.
Yeah, no, they're doing all sorts of cool stuff.
From your lips to God's ears, friend. Wreathed in smoke in Lebanon, we burn the midnight oil. The fragrance of Afghanistan rewards a long day's toil. Pulling into Kathmandu, smoke rings fill the air. Perfumed by a Nepal night, the express gets you there. And then there's some inhalation noises before a guitar solo. It may as well be Sublime at this point.
Except they're not fucking around. We're talking about Afghanistan. You know what that is.
Yeah, opium.
Sweet Lady H.
It's good stuff. Anyway, it's a novelty joke song, I think.
I thought it was probably more of a biography, but sure.
Ugh, it's trash. Anyway, side 2, track 2, The Twilight Zone. I feel like a lot of people aren't going to believe us when we say this.
Yeah, this is great. This is yet another reason this album's awesome. This song is called The Twilight Zone, and Tim, what's it about?
It is 2 summaries of 2 episodes of The Twilight Zone.
It sure as fuck is.
And then the chorus is like a half-remembered what Rod Serling says at the beginning of The Twilight Zone.
It's a montage of various versions of the opening of the show over the course of the series.
My apologies.
It's even weirder.
I could not believe that this was a thing. Like, I saw The Twilight Zone and I was like, okay, well, they're stepping on their toes a little bit, but it's clearly going to be their own thing. They're just, nope.
Nope. Let's get into it. I mean, it sounds kind of stupid, but I really like this show.
It is,
So the first episode that they reference is season 2, Will the Real Martian Please Stand Up? It's the one where a whole busload of people stop off at a diner during a snowstorm, and then they realize there's one too many people, and one of them must be an alien for some reason, and there's a twist at the end that I won't reveal. I mean, it feels dumb to be I guess I'll read some lyrics about this episode of a show from 45 years ago. A pleasant-faced man steps up to greet you. He smiles and says he's pleased to meet you. Beneath his hat, the strangeness lies. Take it off, he's got 3 eyes. Truth is false and logic lost. Now the 4th dimension's crossed.
Right. It's just that episode of the show.
Yeah, it's that episode where he's an alien. He's got three eyes there.
Yep. And then the chorus, you have entered the Twilight Zone. Beyond this world, strange things are known. Use the key, unlock the door. See what your fate might have in store. Come explore your dream's creation. Enter this world of imagination. And I don't know if this happened to you. Throughout this entire chorus, the right channel was singing and the left channel was whispering.
Yes.
Okay. Because that drove me fucking crazy.
Yeah, it scared me a little bit. I got some really nice noise-canceling headphones, and I was just like, boo! I don't like it when people are whispering in my ear, ever.
Hey, Garrett.
No, get away from me.
Fucked me.
Yeah, especially when it's that. Second episode, since we're this far into it, is Stop Over in a Quiet Town, where a couple wakes up after a heavy night of drinking in what appears to be a fake town, only to realize they are the pet of a giant little girl.
Yes.
You wake up lost in an empty town, wondering why no one else is around. Look up to see a giant boy. You've just become his brand new toy. No escape, no place to hide. Here where time and space collide. I don't know why they had to change it to a boy from a girl, but whatever, that's the episode. Chorus again, but this time the delivery is done slower, and it is, of course, coupled with that whisper singing that Tim just eloquently demoed for us. Another guitar solo, and that brings us to side 2, track 3. Oh, Lessons.
My goal is more than a thought.
We have entered the parts where Neil Peart has stopped writing these songs, and listen, his lyrics, Garrett loves them. I think they're entertaining in a why would anyone have written any of this kind of way. They are so much better than these 2 other idiots.
Yeah, God. So this is, who sings the, or do you remember who wrote this one?
This one is Alex's
Life
song.
Yeah. I think I might hate the Geddy Lee one more. We'll see.
I do.
Yeah. When I say this is not a joke. The entire song for me, and I listen to it a lot, feels like a conversation with a stranger where I didn't actually hear the first thing they asked me, but I nodded and smiled to be polite. And now I'm like 2 minutes into the conversation. I'm like, what the fuck are we talking about? Because this entire song, I'm just like going back and I'm reading the verse before and I'm just like, what are we describing? Lessons? Do you know what this song's about?
No, I've got written down, what is this even about? This has some of the dumbest possible phrasing here. Let's get into this and we'll see if we can figure it out. Spoiler alert, we won't be able to. Sweet memories flashing very quickly by, reminding me and giving me a reason why. His memories remind him of things.
Yes, without those, he would forget why he does and does not do some things.
Without his memory, he would forget. Maybe we just move on? No, because it gets dumber. I know that my goal is more than a thought. I'll be there when I teach what I've been taught, and I've been taught. What?
The most generous reading, and I'm being serious, is that he is trying to say, when I am able to teach others what I have learned, then I truly will have become the master.
I think the most generous reading is that he came up with a coherent song, and in between him thinking of it and writing it down, he was dealt a very serious head injury.
Because at least the first half of what you read is him describing how thoughts work.
Well, not even really. It's the first half is him kind of trying to think of what memories are, and then the second part is...
I keep thinking of a little kid touching a hot stove, and then like he's about to do it again, and he's like, no, thanks, memories. I know there's a reason why I don't do that, and I know that because I remember what happened before. God damn it. Let's keep going. You know, we've told you before, but you didn't hear us then. So you still question why? No, you didn't listen again. You didn't listen again. Who's yelling at whom?
I don't know.
Who didn't listen?
It feels like...
Is it his brain yelling at him for not heeding the warnings of his memories? Did he grab that stove?
I don't know. I feel like this is what Neil and Geddy yell at him when he comes with a song.
Yeah. You still question why we won't let you do this? Oh, God. It also is worth pointing out that the Geddy Lee harmonizes with the guitar.
Ugh.
It's tough. Song wraps up with sweet memories. I never thought it would be like this, reminding me just how close I came to missing. I know that this is the way for me to go. You'll be there when you know what I know, and I know.
What?
Okay, I'm sorry. I'm going to say it again. No joke at all. Words on the page. Sweet memories. I'm with you so far. I never thought it would be like this. Okay, he's got great memories and he never thought he would. Reminding me just how close I came to missing. Missing what? I know that this is the way for me to go. You'll be there when you know what I know, and I know. This reminds me of the script that Charlie writes Dennis when he's running for office. And do.
Yes.
Yikes. Ends with a giant guitar solo, as is the style of their time. And that brings us to side 2, track 5, Tears.
Track 4.
Sorry, 4.
We have a ballad.
Oh, and it's the Geddy Lee song, and it is a snooze fest.
Yeah, it's a bit of an emo ballad about crying with a lady over a life poorly spent, maybe?
Yeah, I'm really not sure. The general impression I got is that he's around a woman whom cries a lot, and he confesses his love to her, and then she's like, that's why I'm always crying. I love you too. And he's like, oh, and then she starts crying out of joy instead of sadness.
Okay, that's much more than I got out of that.
I mean, I'm grasping. Let's get into it. All of the seasons and all of the days, all of the reasons why I felt this way. So long, so long. Then lost in that feeling, I looked in your eyes, I noticed emotion and that you had cried. For me, I can see. She's crying for him, I guess.
Okay.
A lot, all of the seasons and all of the days. What would touch me deeper? Tears that fall from eyes that only cry? Would it touch you deeper than tears that fall from eyes that know why? What? Your crying eyes turn me on because I know it's about me, is what I got.
I kind of get that, though.
Oh my God.
A lifetime of questions, tears on your cheek. I tasted the answers, and my body was weak. For you, the truth. So I'm picturing, you remember Scott Tenorman Must Die, the South Park episode?
Of course I do. It's
I'm
top
picturing
5.
a man that looks exactly like Geddy Lee. It is Geddy Lee. But he is crawling across the table, just licking up this lady's tears off her cheek like Eric Cartman at the end of that episode.
Jesus Christ. Yeah, don't taste people.
Well, they're tears, Garrett. That's how you can tell if they're sad or happy. It's the salt content. Well, the salt and the acidity.
Oh my God. Just ask. Use your words.
But how do you know they're not lying?
That's true.
Yeah.
Lick those faces.
So easy to get you to face licking.
Are you enjoying our trip to Disneyland? Of course I am. I'm gonna need to taste some tears. Just to know if you're happy or sad. I've got a collection beaker right here. Just gonna give you a pinch.
Always like to get them right from the face. Fresh is always best.
I'm very upset by what you've said. Let's see here. That's kind of it. What in the world is this about? The song is awful. It's the worst song on the album. That brings us to track number 5, Something for Nothing.
This is back to Neil Peart's writing, which means it is another libertarian ballad about the lazy moochers who steal from the prime movers or whatever.
Yeah.
And not for nothing, Garrett, Rush has a song from 1987 called Prime Mover.
Oh my God. The original title for this song, Eaters.
Yeah.
That's a dark reference.
This was apparently stolen from Los Angeles graffiti that Neil Peart saw once. For whatever that's worth. It's a real, you can't see California without Marlon Brando's eyes, and or Welcome to the Jungle. You're gonna die.
I would argue that both of those are incredibly unique statements, and Something for Nothing is a sentiment that almost every human being eventually comes to.
Right. This is about fucking moochers and also liberals always wanting something for nothing. It goes, waiting for the winds of change to sweep the clouds away, waiting for the rainbow's end to cast its gold your way, countless ways you pass the days. So it's about somebody that's just, not working, not contributing to society, just being a Democrat.
Living on that government dole.
Yes,
Now,
cheese, if you will.
I won't. I prefer to think of it as a more lighthearted and specific song. And by that I mean, what if they wrote this song specifically for a lazy roadie or like a deadbeat brother-in-law that just is like, oh man, no, my brother-in-law's Neil Peart. I'm fine. And he's just really at the end of every one of these lines, it should be waiting for the winds of change to sweep the clouds away, Dan.
His name is definitely Gary. Come on. Not like
I've met
you.
a productive, sure, because that's not my name, but in a much more similar way, I've met a productive Gary.
Huh. Gary
I know,
Oldman.
right? Mm-hmm.
He is
Productive
productive.
man. Waiting for someone to call and turn your world around, looking for an answer to the question you have found, looking for an open door. Tim, somebody's not just going to come along and solve your problems for you.
No, I solve all of my problems, Garrett.
Yeah, you do. I don't love how you do it, but you are a
Take
problem
him out
solver.
for a walk in the park.
Good God. Oh, what's that over there? Garrot! You shouldn't shout, Garrot. Anyway, you don't get something for nothing. You can't have freedom for free. You don't get wise with the sleep still in your eyes, no matter what your dreams might be. Who cares what your dreams are, Tim? Get a job, suffer, and contribute, and then die.
Which is kind of bullshit because this is the exact opposite sentiment of 2112, aka their sentiment from their childhood, their parents telling them to not be musicians and to get a job.
Yeah, they're really sounding like some real priests of the Temple of Syrinx.
Yes.
Don your robes and lizard jewelry. I assume, like, they can't have earrings, so they probably have, like, a lot of snout stuff.
Sure. And I bet that snout ring leads down to like a chain that goes down to like one of their nipples or something.
Their nipples, yeah. They probably don't have nipples.
Garrett,
yeah, yeah, they probably don't. Do any lizards give live birth?
I don't think so.
Snakes do. Some, not all.
Yeah, but they don't have like umbilical cords. And I mean, there's no snake milk, Garrett. If there was snake milk, I would have fed you snake milk by now. I've given you snake eggs for your omelets.
I know. They were so fertilized. Ugh. What you own is your own kingdom. What you do is your own glory. What you love is your own power. What you live is your own story. This sounds like a series of inspirational posters for a public school library.
Yeah. In your head is the answer. Let it guide you along. Let your heart be the anchor, and the beat of your song.
And always remember to let your heart be your ankle. Well, that can't be right.
Garrett, one last thing, the outro, you don't get something for nothing. You can't have freedom for free. No, you don't get something for nothing. You can't have freedom for free. Garrett, freedom ain't free.
Last I checked, that's sort of the primary tenet of our society.
Well,
We are all entitled to certain inalienable rights, which is a big fancy word for free.
But you have to serve in the military to get those.
Yes. No, actually, no, we voted against that.
Well,
I know, right?
that seems to be where society went wrong.
You know, I wouldn't actually be against some sort of like volunteer situation. Like everybody's obligated to do it for like a year or two. And you don't have to go military. You can go like civil service.
Yeah, and maybe if our society was based more like around trains.
I mean, I don't understand how you can have one of the largest countries in the world geographically and be like, yeah, we're not going to do high-speed trains. We've seen them. They're awesome. Fuck it.
I think we're starting to come around to this vision of Ayn Rand.
I don't think so, Tim. I think we just want fast trains.
Oh,
right. Alrighty, Tim, how did this thing do?
Kind of okay. It only hit number 61 on the US Billboard chart, number 5 in Canada, number 33 on the Swedish Sverigetoplisten, but it went on to sell more than 3 million copies in the US alone, so eventually pretty good.
I think it's their second best-selling album.
It is.
That's wild. This isn't like a weird offshoot of stuff that nobody's heard. This is the good stuff.
Yeah, but again, they have 19 albums, so...
Sure, but only 2 of them get any airplay.
I don't know that this gets airplay.
Well, it's an expression.
Oh.
Obviously. What do people think of it?
Well, there are 4,161 total ratings on Amazon, 4.8 out of 5 stars on average, 88% 5-star, 1% 1-star. I have several. You may beg for me to stop after the first one. We'll talk.
Okay, that sounds accurate.
Philip G. wrote, "Great three-piece band, each a master of their instruments." That's the title, from March 23rd, 2017. Takes me back to my youthful days in Germany. Great three-piece band, each a master of their instruments and able to bring all that talent together to make the unique sound of what is Rush. Thank you, Lisa S., for letting me play this on my boombox in 83. Okay, hold on.
Keep it together, man.
Thank you, Lisa S., for letting me play this on my boombox in 83 when we became each other's firsts. Are the foundation of life. Garrett, 5 out of 5 stars. Imagine what he's saying. This is a 1983 virgin. Imagine you are a 1983 lady virgin. You're about to lose your virginity to a German boy named Philip, and he says right beforehand, Hold on.
Do you like Rush?
Can I put on Rush's 21 to imagine making love to a German, your first time and his, to the sounds of Geddy Lee screeching about the priests of the Temple of Syrinx, or how...
We are the priests of the Temple of Syrinx.
I mean, if that won't get you there, nothing will.
Is it good for you? I'm having a good time.
Yeah,
Did you hear about the lizards?
Ayn Rand thinks you should be contributing more to society. It's kind of hot. But if nothing else, just think about how jarring the changes in tempo would be.
Yeah, it would be at the bare minimum distracting.
Yeah.
I have the bootstraps. Do you know what to do with them?
Jesus.
Oh my God, that's so ridiculous. What is it I have here? I have found a guitar. Listen to its heart sing. I have made the commies.
Jesus Christ.
I felt like you were getting too much attention. I'm sorry.
No, what you said will live on in infamy. That is going to be the t-shirt I have made. The cummies. It might be my all-time favorite thing you've ever said.
Just why? Oh, sometimes I surprise myself. I don't know that you should read anymore. This might be just like where we stop it on the reviews. It was too good.
Yeah, that's what I thought. I'm perfectly happy to do that.
Let's Costanza that then. All right. Who's this for?
I don't know, Garrett. I mean, it's clearly for you. It's for, I think, robots, mathematicians, nerds in the 80s. German boys who are about to enter a German girl.
I don't think this was as much for the 80s as it was the mid to late 70s.
Yeah, that's fair. But
yeah, it's
no
definitely
one was
for
having
them.
sex to it in the 70s. That had to wait until 83.
To that infamous day. God damn it. Do you like Rush?
What if she did? What if she was super into it?
Yeah. What if she was like, oh, 2112. I love this album.
This is how I always pictured it. Geddy Lee screeching in the background.
I mean, I can't throw any stones.
Yeah, I know about that.
Yeah, America knows about that. Great. That brings us to final thoughts. What has not been said? Any revelations?
No, I mean, again, this is not an album. This is a single with 5 B-sides, again, of varying quality, although none of them good.
All right, I got a question for you. Let's get rid of the 5. The 5 that have nothing to do with the Temple of Syrinx, they're gone. Would you have preferred, because that song's 20 minutes, I think 35 minutes is an acceptable album length, unless you're Tokyo Police Club, in which case like 20 is. But let's say 10 more minutes. Would you have preferred they had 10 more minutes of 2112 and just make it a real concept album? I think that's what I'd prefer.
I would, but I would also prefer that they break it into its individual pieces and stop making it a weird, sweet thing.
So when they made it all one song, and I think your description up top of what happened is 100% what happened. I don't think that's wrong at all. But when I saw how they did it, I assumed like a sane person that while each section might be different and musically varied, they would flow into one another in some manner.
Right.
Not have a full hard stop as though they're new songs. Like, I mean, at least, you know, you and I live in the age of the goddamn MP3, like, and, you know, fucking really sophisticated phones. It is not difficult for you and I to listen to the second part of the first song fairly easily. Do you know how maddening it must have been to own this album and jump to your favorite part of that first track?
Well, that's intentional. You are not allowed to do that. It's to be taken in as a single piece of work.
Can you imagine if you're trying to have intercourse to this album, like getting it lined up to your favorite parts so you can make the cummies, as you like to say, at the right climax?
Jesus Christ. Now you're milking it.
Yeah, I am and will. Okay, I think we've had some revelations here. It should have been just a full-on concept album. Add 2 more tracks. Maybe there's a battle. Maybe he doesn't commit suicide and in fact joins the uprising, starts a resistance movement, and then when the space people come down, they join forces. I don't know. I'm not here to write Russia's 2112. I'm just telling you how it could have been better.
Yeah.
Now, what I will say, on the other side of things, as long as Neil Peart is writing the songs, the other songs I do appreciate because it's very rare that somebody's just like, this is called The Twilight Zone. It's about the Twilight Zone. Now, I think maybe they pushed it too far, a little too literal, but still, I kind of appreciated it. You know, no second guessing it this week. We know what they're watching. We know what they're reading. It's in their music.
Yeah.
Fantastic. All right, Tim, we've been all the way through it. We've said several things, some of them jokes. Do you hate this album?
No, I don't. I mean, I have to view it mostly as 2112 and The Twilight Zone to get to affirm not hate. But no, I mean, this was a very fun week. So yes. I can't hate it just based on that alone. What about you?
Yeah, same here. And when this randomly comes on because you can't do what we do, I don't know. Actually, you and I don't really talk about this because we try not to talk about the show off air. I assume you listen to it just on your music service of choice, right?
Yes.
And then it sneaks into your suggested albums.
Yeah.
Yeah, drives me absolutely crazy. But the reason I bring that up is when 2112 comes on, I will definitely jump to the Temples of Syrinx, have a good laugh, and go about my day. Any of the other ones from side 2, that's a quick do not recommend.
Yeah, agreed.
Very listenable, super talented, weird as all get out, not good enough to bother doing or be proud of from a content perspective, but so stupid that I could listen to it all day. And I might read the comic book, and I hate comic books.
Graphic novel.
Pretentious fuck. Ironically, I love cartoons based on comic books, so take that for what it's worth. Anyway,
can't read.
That's going to do it. All right. That's going to do it for this week, though. We have Instagram. That's HatePod. We have Twitter. That's Album HatePod. I'm G Harvey Tweets on Twitter if you want to get in touch with me for some strange reason. We could talk about movies or music or the cosmos. Anyway, you could also find us at hatepodmail@gmail.com, or you can go to hatepod.com and click on Contact Us in the upper left-hand corner. That's going to get you there, too. You got subreddits. You got Discord servers. I mean, if you want to talk to us, about us, around us, behind us, and a little bit through us, just a touch, there's ways to do it. We're not on Pandora Premium. They know why, and it will stay that way. Perhaps forever, or at least until that service goes out of business. But that's going to do it for us this week, folks. For Why I Hate This Album and all subsidiaries, I have been one of your hosts and will continue to be, for now, Garrett Harvey.
I have been the other, Timothy P. Richardson, and on August 20th, 2024, Garrett P. Harvey said, I have made the commies.
I was quoting someone.
There's cowboys running through my dreams. Nothing's quite the way it seems. I joined the Navy, got kicked out in a week. My facial features aren't distinct. Try to find some meaning in these songs. The genius is a genius, got it wrong. No, it's a lobster murder sex thing. It's the bleaching of the rear. A full assault on both your ears. Riffs are too repetitive, the lyrics make no sense. All the songs are B-sides, the cover art's a mess. Listen to it for a week, now that week has passed. It's the Why I Hate This Album podcast with Tim and Garrett.